Kevin, you have to start the fucking podcast
We started.
so we can fucking talk about this.
We started. I decided we're just going to roll right into it.
What do you guys do if a movie sucks ass? Well, you make a podcast about it. This is Nerdy for 30, the podcast where me and Kevin Bauer discuss nerdy-ish things for 30-ish minutes. Today we were joined by great guest Bob Vulfov. How you doing, bud?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you guys for making me go see this movie with you.
Long time no see, Bob. Kevin, my usual host of the show. How's it going, bud?
Hey, it's going great. Thanks for having me on your show, Tim.
What'd you think of this movie, Kevin?
This was so fucking bad, dude. It's like it falls into that like badness uncanny valley where there's not even anything fun about how bad it is. It's like the Four Stick movie, that Fantastic Four movie that came out.
Oh, yes.
Wait, the one with Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah, Michael B. Jordan, Miles Teller. Oh, just so fucking bad. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible that Hollywood exists and has all of the tools at its disposal to make really good movies. And yet, this movie still came out this bad.
And these are expensive to make. It's not like this is like a cheap movie to throw together. Like they're putting in a ton of money to, get big box office numbers, but it's just... You're wasting so many people's time. These are huge crews. Somebody just has to work on the fucking slime for the Venom. Like that, their job is to make the slime. Like they animate the slime and they do the shadows and the lighting on the slime. And you know that person probably went to like MIT or something. And this is what they're doing. It's horrible.
Within the first 30 seconds, I think I turned to Bob and said, "This is going to suck."
You did, yeah.
It was immediate. I don't know. How would you guys describe the tone of this movie? Because instantly, I would say it is wrong and
Yes.
and bad.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I think it was right off the bat. They did a flashback to like an orphanage, and I was like, come on, man. Like you can't. It's been done so much. You can't flash me back to an orphanage for a side character who's like not even really in this movie.
I am fascinated by the tone in this movie. It is like simultaneously funny, but it is not funny, but it's trying to be funny. It feels like whoever was in the writer's room was fucking dying while they did this. And they're like, oh my God, Venom is going to be saying these hilarious things throughout the movie. And then Tom Hardy's going to be like, whoa, what'd you say, Venom? And people are going to be like, whoa, is Tom Hardy talking to me? But then Venom makes a joke and it's like, oh my God, it's going to be so good.
And that's the whole script.
And that's the whole script. But we have a serial killer, but he's not serious. There's nothing serious about Woody Harrelson. He's not a real threat. We have a symbiote alien who is also a joke and makes jokes at things and values nothing. And then Tom Hardy, who has nothing. And then his ex-wife, who for some reason wants to go on a date with him to tell him that she's engaged to another man. It's like...
And then she gets mad at him immediately when he's like not, clicking his heels excited. Like he's like a little thrown off and she's like, you're being a jerk.
Just tell me congratulations. And he's like, I thought you dumped him to get back with me, which is why you asked me on a date to this fancy restaurant.
He's like, this is a confusing social situation that you put me into. You made me come to a fancy restaurant. I'm a little thrown off. And she's like, what an asshole.
It takes place like pretty soon after the ending of the first Venom, which is like about 6 months after they were engaged to each other. So that would be a little...
It's a little confusing.
Yeah.
It's a little bit confusing.
So like in less than a year, she broke up with him and got engaged to somebody else? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but she wants to maintain a positive relationship. Fine. I think like making a date at this fancy restaurant is like maybe not quite coming across how she wants it to.
One-on-one fancy dates, I think, is probably where I would draw the line at maintaining a healthy relationship with an ex.
Yeah.
It's a coffee situation. For
Coffee,
sure.
yeah. If you bump into each other or whatever, if you want to grab a coffee, but yeah, like buying
maybe a lunch.
Checking maybe a lunch. Dinner? No way.
No,
you don't get to have
absolutely
dinner
not.
with an ex. Solo dinner with an ex?
No,
This
no.
conversation, it's not happening after 4 p.m.
No.
No.
And like yeah, probably no wine, no alcohol. I would say salads. I think salads you could do in the daytime. That's kind of, that's where I would draw the line. And I would describe the tone as like if you took like the Deadpool script and like boiled it in like hot dog water and then you kind of like took that like the leftover residual water and you poured it out, you would get this script. Like it's like all the like I don't think Deadpool is amazing by any means, but like
Shut your mouth.
like I don't think it's the best movie ever.
How dare you?
But I think one thing that you have to agree is that there's intent from the first minute. You understand the POV, you get what they're going for. The tone is consistent. It matches the visual action. The movie's like as fun as it is, what they call irreverent or whatever. Like it works. And this just like, I was like, are you taking yourself seriously? Are you trying to make me laugh? Are you trying to undercut the concept of a superhero? What are you doing? What's the fucking idea here?
Why?
Why?
Why are you doing this?
Why is Tom Hardy like in on the joke? Does he find it funny, or is he like it kind of seemed like he wasn't stoked to be doing the movie, to be honest with you. Like
Which is wild because he co-wrote it.
And he produced it and he started it.
And the Veep guy who was in it, he was kind of phoning it in too. It's just like you can kind of tell like sometimes when a performance is like the person's not having a blast. I totally got that vibe from Tom Hardy. He was just like, I mean, maybe that's just his face. He looks like a guy who's like always just woken up. So maybe that's his whole deal. But yeah, he didn't look like he was having fun.
Is Tom Hardy like a fun hang? Do we know anything about Tom
He
Hardy?
seems
I feel
kind
like I
of
don't know anything
intense.
about
I don't know. I think all these British guys, like him and Daniel Day-Lewis and Christian Bale, like I think they're all like kind of intense. I think that's the sense I get.
If that tracks, because I feel like watching this, I thought that Tom Hardy thought this was hilarious. Like while he's doing it, I'm like in the back. I feel like in his head he's like, God, I'm crushing it right now. Like the whole time he's like, man, I am blowing this out of the park right now.
And it's like, again, say what you will about Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds.
It's amazing he's a god. He treads lightly.
Say what you will.
Canadian treasure.
But like, again, Ryan Reynolds, you can tell he's really having fun, in every movie. It's like he's got like that kind of like golden retriever vibe where he's just happy to be there. And it makes the movie more fun. This one is just, it's all like the sour colors of like a DC movie. I know it's a Marvel movie, but it looked like a DC movie. It looked like the fucking like one of the newer Superman, like Man of Steel. Like it had the color palette of Man of Steel, and parts of it were as fun as Man of Steel, which is not fun at all.
Dude, it's so strange. First of all, that you would mention hot dog water because Tom Hardy sweats a lot in these movies, and every single time I'm like, that is exactly what he smells like. I think he's a really good actor in these in a really bizarre way because for all of how fucking insane it is, you actually believe that he's talking to like another person in that scene.
Yeah,
he's like good. A person in his head. He's like plausibly frenetic. Although I will say in this one more so than the first one, he's giving me vibes that are a mix of Charlie Kelly from Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Bobcat Goldthwait. These are PG-13 movies, by the way. I just looked that up.
Wow.
That explains
Venom
so
wasn't
much.
PG-13, but Venom was R, wasn't
First one was PG-13. I'll double check it.
Okay.
But it's...
Yeah, that makes actually a lot of sense. And that explains probably this tone stuff. Like, if you're going to be, quote unquote, irreverent and, wild and different, like you really, then the action has to be as well. Like it can't just be like a few lines of dialogue. You gotta show some people's heads getting ripped off. If you're gonna also have the guy say the F word in this climactic moment.
You're right. It's PG-13. They were both PG-13. For some reason, I thought the first one was. It's crazy that we have a Venom movie that's PG-13. It's stupid. I'm against it. I want to see Venom bite some heads off. I want to see some limbs getting ripped off. I want to see some violence. This is like the pretense of this character, right?
I mean, it's the pretense of the character, but I think this movie took it into the zone where it's like, is this even Venom? Like, what of this characterization outside of the fact that it's a black gooey monster that's attached to a guy whose name is Eddie Brock? Like, outside of that, what is true to any of the sense of the character from the comics? The shit that they have Venom saying is bizarre. The thing where it's like, and I'm Barry Manilow. Who's that joke for?
I know, like, who's that joke for? Why does Venom have like outdated cultural references.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here?
He says we're going to a wedding, and Venom's like, "Will there be canapes?"
Yeah.
But if you lean into that, I guess, and you make Venom this like,
God.
I don't know, yeah, this like strangely outdated. You can maybe explain it like you watched a lot of daytime TV or something. There's something
Yes.
you can do with this character, but they haven't made enough of a choice anyway, and it just exists in this bizarre gray area.
There's also something to like Tom Hardy maybe being an eccentric guy who likes old movies, and then Venom starts referencing old movies, and like all of a
Yes.
sudden there's a connection.
Could do
there.
that in one line. You
Yes,
could totally
one-
justify
yes.
it. You could tie up that loose end.
It'd be amazing. The thing that we talk about with the movie is that we, with the first Venom, had talked about how we wanted to see it map itself onto either like a buddy cop movie, ideally, where it's the two cops that aren't compatible at all, but they have to work together to solve this case, and they end up finding out, they're not so different after all. Or you want to see it be like a rom-com between these people.
Oh, that's funny.
This one kind of went the rom-com angle. I think these movies would
But
be
it was
great.
like we can't have them say they love each other too hard because guys, there's a couple of guys. Venom's kind of a space guy, and this is a guy. We can't have them love each other for real. They got to qualify it. Yeah.
Should we get into some categories? We've been kind of circling beefs. Should we get into some beefs?
I'll do whatever. I'll do whatever.
I said this on I think the way here, coming from the movie, was there is something there with Eddie Brock and having this relationship with Venom where he's trying to like control the symbiote that like wants to go crazy and murder a bunch of people, and then Carnage, who is like the opposite of that because he's attached to a serial killer who just wants to let that loose. Like there's like you can explore Venom, the relationship between Eddie Brock and Venom, by exploring the relationship between the serial killer Woody Harrelson and Carnage. And it doesn't seem like that's a thought that even occurred to them, which I find insane. You're literally creating a scenario in which your villains are like foils for each other. The
And
hero
then it's
and villain
not
are-
acknowledged.
and it's not acknowledged in any way.
And
There's
the
nothing-
father-son thing with the symbiotes, like he calls him father or whatever, and it's like, but you're not gonna show any.
Dude,
Like
there are so
anything?
many like threads that were left there, I think, from maybe previous drafts of the movie. And it's like, if this isn't going to go anywhere, you got to cut this out of the movie or else it's fucking sloppy. Where he shows up in the church for the wedding scene. I can't believe I'm saying these words. Shows up in the church for the wedding scene. And Venom is like, "Oh no, it's a red one. We got to go." And it's like, we never get any context on why that's
Yes.
bad, that it's a red one. We never get any context on the fact that Carnage sees Venom as a father outside of that one mention.
There can only be one of us, he says. Why?
And
What?
so can Venoms eat other Venoms? I was just like, oh my god, he's gonna eat him. Is that how you get rid of another symbiote? You eat it?
No idea. I was thinking too. He's like, well, he can't eat Woody Harrelson because if he does, couldn't he just turn back into Carnage inside his stomach? Like, we don't get. That's, I guess, my biggest beef with this movie is that we don't get any rules. You need rules to care about any of this shit. We have no idea why these creatures are like corporeal beings, and yet they seem to exist in a world where they have infinite reserves of matter available to them. Carnage stretches out to be like the size of a city block at one point, and there's no kind of a scene where he like has to intake more matter to do that. Where's it all coming from? Is he like, it would even make sense if we saw that like the tendrils as they stretch further get thinner because there's only like a limited amount of material to come from. But even these goopy things themselves, they like disappear into human bodies. Despite the fact that there's double the matter existing in the same physical space, there's no mention of it getting denser. There's absolutely no attempt to explain any of this stuff, which I think is important for giving a fuck.
Yeah, I think they call it like hard magic versus soft magic. So like hard magic is like where you know the rules, like it's almost like a scientific approach to writing about, magic or fantasy or whatever. And then soft magic is like, it's kind of like Harry Potter or this, where it's just like, you just kind of, there's not like barriers, and it's kind of, one isn't worse than the other. It's just, this is very much in the camp of like, because it's a plot device.
One is definitely worse than each other than the other.
Yeah.
They're both worse at different things.
Lord of the Rings has soft magic too, where it's like you Gandalf. Well, because you never really see the story from Gandalf's perspective, so it's like the wizards are just these fucking like wild cards. Like they've got no consistency to their magic. This is like when Venom like plugged into the laptop and like was like hacking the mainframe with his goop. I was like, you guys did not earn even anything close to this. Like you can't hack like with goop. I cannot. But 60% are Rotten Tomatoes. So, what the fuck do I know?
Can't argue with that.
Can't argue with those results.
Bob, you got any other beefs?
Yeah, I think my biggest beef is how stupid the people at that party were when Venom came in and they didn't realize that he was like, a big monster. I mean, he was like 10 feet tall. I guess it was a costume party, so people thought it was a costume, but you could really see the fog like coming off of his alien teeth. Like it seems pretty obvious that it wasn't a costume, but yeah.
Okay, we should get to some thieves. Who or what stole the movie for you guys? Any thieves? I can nominate my thief maybe.
Yeah, please.
There are moments with Carnage and Woody Harrelson that are very cool, I think. Like the physicality of Carnage, like the fight scene in the prison is very cool. There's moments with Woody Harrelson like driving around and like where like him getting out of the car and going to it makes zero sense that he would need to go to a 7-Eleven to get a laptop to plug into like
the first place you think to get
some
electronics.
A gas station.
Yeah, it's a gas station.
But him just walking into a gas station, jumping the counter, kicking a guy, taking the idea of him just taking things because he can now, he has the power to do that, and because he doesn't have any morality to like keep that from him. The combination of him and Carnage, that there's moments where they tap into that and it's awesome. They do not do it nearly enough, but it's still like there's moments where I'm like, this could have been something cool.
That's fair, yeah. And I like the idea of a serial killer with superpowers. Like that's the ultimate, villain, right? I mean, somebody who has like bloodlust and like the ability to like kill the world. But yeah, I don't know. I think again, yeah, it's a concept that could be pretty cool, and it doesn't really play out.
Has he done enough to be like is he like a really bad guy in this? He's a serial killer, but we found out he was abused as a child, and ultimately all he wanted was to be friends with Eddie. Like it's kind of all over the place. I guess he murders some cops who were mistreating him, and then he murders the people who wrongfully imprisoned his girlfriend to like.
Yeah, it's ultimately like
he's
love.
kind of the hero of the story, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, like you said, he got like abused his whole life, and I was just like, Jesus, well now I feel bad, like ragging on this serial killer. Like, why would the movie do this? It's weird. It's this it's some sort of weird corporate, like neoliberal, like them trying to like flatten everything, like sand it down and make everything, justified and explained, and it's like. It doesn't work when you do it this much. It's really transparent, the vibe.
He's supposed to be a terrible guy. Carnage is like the correction for Venom being like once Venom started becoming an anti-hero and like being a good guy sometimes, they needed like another symbiote that could be like the real bad guy. So he's a murderer. He's like straight up evil. And in this, they're like going out of their way to be like, he's not that bad. He's okay.
I know. It's like those New York Times like pieces on like white supremacists where it's like, well, he lives in a rough neighborhood. It's like, why are you doing this? Just
both his parents had to work, so he gravitated towards the Klan. And it's I don't know why I'm sympathizing for this guy.
Yeah, like why are you telling me that he's like a child of divorce? Like I don't care. He's a fucking serial killer. Like stop giving him like redeeming stuff. Yeah.
Kevin's made the point on the podcast before, which I think is great, which is like a hero needs a heroic quality that we as an audience can like learn from. And like I think the last example was like Shang-Chi's like willingness to learn things. Like that's a heroic trait that we can map onto people or whatever, like willing to risk it all for whatever. So like the only heroic trait in this movie is Woody Harrelson as a serial killer escaping jail to like save the love of his life. and ultimately turn his back on the power that he'd grasped, which was Carnage. He was trying to fight Carnage to save the love of his life. So, like, if any heroic action was taken at all in this movie, it's Woody Harrelson's character, who should be the scum of the earth.
Yeah, very confused set of like priorities in plot and character and relationships. I don't really understand where they were coming from with that.
On that note, Bob, who or what stole the movie for you?
Who or what stole the movie for me? I guess I liked it when the movie ended and the credits rolled. That was pretty tight because I realized that it was time for us to leave. And in terms of positives, let me see like if there's anything that comes to mind. I mean, I guess I did like their little the tussle between Venom and Eddie Brock in the apartment. I thought that was probably in service of like this rom-com thing they were going for, and it was good to see, because like I said earlier, I was like, this fucking alien life force would be at some point fighting back and too frustrated to continue the relationship. So it was nice to see it actually like bear out and see them split, because there's no way they wouldn't split at some point.
Did Venom just leave a trail of dead bodies in the city?
He killed a lot of people. Like they're just like all these bodies were admitted to the morgue with like weird that's weird. Their blood got boiled. I don't know what this is.
He's just like, Eddie, I made it back to you. It's like, you killed 1,000 people.
Yeah, you left like a dead human centipede behind.
It's just never addressed. Like, we are supposed to feel for Venom when we see him slumped over in like I guess like an analogy to him being drunk and despondent after a breakup. We see him slump against the wall, but the reason he's slumped against the wall is because he's sucking the life out of the body that he's on.
Because he's killing his innocent host.
It's just hard to feel anything for that character.
Yeah.
I think, speaking of feeling anything for the character, I think my thief, the biggest thing that works for me in this movie is probably Michelle Williams. I mean,
she's great.
She's just fun to watch, and she's taking things seriously. Like, the tone of her performance is like maybe the only tone that kind of works in this movie.
That's true. And she's like, she's so sincere and so believable. And then I think the guy from Veep, who was her boyfriend, is like kind of the opposite in terms of acting. Like, he's acting the whole time. He's an actor who's acting, and he's reading the lines that were written for him, and them together I thought did not work. Their scenes, I thought she was doing everything and he was kind of dragging it down a little bit, which is crazy because I think he's super funny on the show, on the TV show. Like, I think he's great on Veep. This just like took me out.
Yeah, I mean, it as shitty as the movie is, I think it just comes down to like being on board with it and trying to do something with it. It just felt like he was keeping it at arm's length.
Yeah, my theory is that they shot everyone shot the movie in different locations, and then some video editor put them all together. Like, I think everyone shot it from like their apartment, like all their lines, and that's why it seems so weird and the tone is so weird, because nobody was in a room together.
Oh my god, dude. Well, let's move into reckless speculation. Wrap this up.
Yeah.
I wanna. This fucking movie. The movie opens up with the character's name in the comics is Shriek. She tells Woody Harrelson's young character up top that she's going to be taken out of this asylum. She is immediately taken out of the asylum. She happens to be letting him know moments before they're going to come drag her out. They take her out. They throw her in the back of like a police truck. She gets in like a fight with like security guard in the back of this thing. He, I guess, like shoots her and somehow takes her eye out. But also, her eye's not gone. It's just purple now. Like, it glows a little bit, and it's purple, and it's, like, cool. And I get the eye for an eye thing if your eye didn't end up a lot cooler because of the thing that happened.
Yeah, shoot me in the other fucking eye, too, man. give me cool eyes.
Like, I don't she didn't seem to be, like, blind. Like, there was no kind of a thing about that. And then in the end of the movie, she has a fight with the same, like, security guard guy who's become this police detective. And she seemingly kills him.
Yeah, there was like a chain around his neck or something.
Yeah. We cut back to him later, and his eyes are glowing.
Yeah, and he says some sort of foreshadowing remark and then we just cut away and never hear about it again.
Yeah.
Is he supposed to be like Mobius?
Oh no, what was his name? It was Mulligan. He's definitely not Morbius because Morbius is
Mulligan.
Jared Leto.
We can't have an Irish
Oh, Morbius
superhero.
is-
Mulligan?
Yeah, Jesus.
No way. What's next?
I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
this is a reference. This has to be something coming up. But I'm like, what could it possibly be
No.
that's any interest at all?
We cannot tell Bob about Daredevil.
He's Irish? No!
Oh, he's as Irish as the green on my ass. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything that was Irish. I think it's weird that Shriek has Isn't it weird that the girlfriend has powers?
And we never find out why or how.
And she's also the only one. The only one. We don't see any other places. She's imprisoned in a weird facility. This facility doesn't seem to hold anybody else with superpowers. There's no reason for her to have superpowers except lazy writing. And it's also weird that, like, the answer, there's a moment where it's like, oh, she could, like, save her husband from Carnage with her voice.
That would have been great.
Which would have been cool, but then Venom, like, picks her up and throws her into a bell, which crushes her, but then she screams on the way and it's just like they were so close to making, like, any sort of a connection, and it feels like then they intentionally spit in our faces by taking it away from us. And it's like there was a moment where this whole movie made sense for a second, and then Eddie could have lost Venom for a second because the sound destroys Carnage and almost destroys Venom, you know, like, God
doesn't
damn
make
it.
sense.
Oh, they knew. They did that on purpose for sure. They thought that was clever as hell to have him throw her into the church bell instead of just having her scream. They
Yeah.
definitely.
And then
they
when
were
she
like,
screamed, I thought she was gonna like launch the bell or something.
Yeah.
Like they made again the filming seemed to be showing you that she was about to use her power to do like a physical action with the screeching, and then she just got crushed by it. And I was like, why did you film it that way?
or did she get crushed because
Or
the
like
bell
she got
fell
you know,
around
yeah,
her?
yeah, she didn't
So,
get
like,
crushed, but she got like like a spider in your house.
Because also she is a symbiote. Like she gets a symbiote in the comics, and I was like, this is strange that they're doing this, but I guess they're gonna give her like a symbiote at some point. But maybe that's now a setup for Venom 3. I looked it up. The Mulligan thing is like he's a character called Toxin that's like the son of Carnage. So now Venom's gonna be a grandpa. So we gotta map Venom 3 on Meet the Fockers.
The
He's gonna be like
superior
a blue one.
film.
He's gonna be like a blue one, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, well, blue ones nobody cares about.
Uh,
It's the red ones you gotta watch out
Well,
for."
if they do a green one, it's just gonna look like Shrek, and I can't. I don't want
Dude,
it.
this movie could use a little Shrek.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
when will the Shrek IP start making its way into movies again?
Dude, if they showed me, if the thing that happened was that he goes up to the TV at the very end of the post-credit scene and Shrek is on, I am back on board.
I'm a believer, baby.
Yeah, I believe. Then the morning comes. There was like a good period of time where a Shrek movie or a Shrek adjacent movie felt like it was coming out every year, and I was like, "This is a simpler time. This is nice. This
Things
is it.
are good.
Things are good.
I'm gonna
So-
drink my Mike's Hard Lemonade and watch some Shrek.
Watch some Shrek."
To move right on into Shrekless Shrekulation. What do we think's gonna happen next? What would you want to see happen that would make you have hope for Venom 3?
I would want Venom. I think it seems like they're setting this up that Venom is going to be in the next Spider-Man movie, which I think we talked about maybe that sounds like that's a possibility. I'm no longer excited about that at all. I hope this is like, if he's in the movie for longer than a couple minutes, it's not good. It's just not a good thing to have in a Marvel movie. So I'm hoping he's barely in the next Spider-Man movie, and then who cares about the third Venom? I mean, I guess he's fighting Mulligan and Shrieky Gal. I don't know. That's kind of what's going on. But
about it.
now this is the first time I'm like worried about No Way Home. I'm
Yeah.
worried. I'm worried now. I'm scared. I'm sad. I think my life is actively worse after seeing Venom.
Which is what, we'll provide that feedback to them. I think my speculation, or like the only thing that would make me excited for a new Venom would be if they went hardcore into like the rom-com field and like made like Venom and Tom Hardy have like a sexual relationship, like a deeply sexual, like I want like Eyes Wide Shut, like erotic movie with Venom and Tom Hardy. That's what would make me come back. Yeah.
I'm on board. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning into this one. Hopefully you just listened to this and didn't see the movie. If you saw the movie, you may be entitled to a class action settlement. What a fucking awful ride. Hey, we're going to be back the rest of this month talking about horror movies. It's October, so we're leaning into it. We're going to be having some fun. Bob, maybe you could join us again for It Follows. I know you loved that one.
Oh, that was the scariest
You
movie.
seen It Follows? Dude, we got to do It Follows. I want to do Squid Game. Can we do Squid Game next week?
I would love to.
Squid Game, yeah.
All right, that's it.
Bye.